All right. Welcome to the Nonprofit Digital Success Podcast. I'm your host, David, and today I have Leo Ebbert on the show. Allow me to introduce him. Leo is the founder and president of ExactClick Digital, a boutique agency specializing in ads management. He began his career as a certified public accountant at Deloitte in Phoenix, Arizona. In 2007, he founded ExactClick Digital in his hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee. Since founding ExactClick Digital, Leo and his team have helped dozens of brands drive over 1 million conversions through paid advertising. I brought him on the show to provide insight about the $10,000 US value from Google Ads grant. Leo, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks, David. Happy to be here.
Thanks. How you doing today?
Doing great. Yeah, it's a busy time of year for me, going into fourth quarter. A lot of work that needs to be done. Brands are getting prepped for, the holiday run. And so it's a busy time of year, but always exciting.
Awesome. So let's just jump right in. For anybody who isn't, aware, what is paid advertising?
Well, So it's space on the Google search engine. If we're talking about Google specifically, where they're trying to make money on this search engine they use, and so they carve out space for ads, and you can buy the slot, right? So if someone searches for something related to your business or your nonprofit, you can say, I want to bid on that keyword and I want to show up in that top section. There will be others bidding on it as well, usually. So you might be there with competitors, but it's a way to get instant access to relevant traffic without waiting for, SEO or anything like that to come into effect. You can get there immediately and get that traffic today.
That's awesome. So can you give us a quick rundown about, why nonprofits and charities should consider using paid ads?
Yeah, bottom line is you can get access to highly relevant search, just like any business might want to do it. If a business is selling a widget and they want to sell that, get in front of people that are searching for that widget, then that's the simplest, the quickest, and usually most effective way to do it. The same is true for nonprofits. There are people searching for things, phrases and words that are relevant to any nonprofit. And if you can get in front of those people, then you can bring them in and help whatever your objective or mission is, whether it's if you're trying to find volunteers, whether you're trying to find donors, or just get the word out on what you provide.
So I think a lot of people have heard Google has these ad grants. It's $10,000 US a month in ad spend. I know they say it's US, but if you're in Canada or Australia, as long as you're a registered nonprofit or charity, right, you can apply for it. How hard is it to qualify?
It's not hard. Few restrictions. If it's, for example, if you're a hospital, you can't do it. Or if you're an educational institution, I think you're also restricted. But there are very few restrictions, and the application process is very simple. You simply fill out a couple of forms, prove that you are a nonprofit. It takes them a couple of weeks to review that and get back to you. But once you go through that initial process, you're off to the races, and you can start running ads immediately.
Yeah, I worked at a hospital for just about 5 years, and the hospital itself couldn't qualify, but the foundation, the charity, the fundraising arm was able to qualify for it. Are there any other restrictions or special rules about how the ads grant could be used?
Not a lot. Those are the kind of the main restrictions as to which types of nonprofits qualify. There are some special rules, as in there's some things you cannot do inside of Google Ads that a regular, Google Ads customer could do. There aren't many, but one that was kind of surprising to me was you cannot bid on a single keyword. Okay, so just a single word, right? And where that can get a little bit difficult is if the name of your nonprofit is a single word. If your nonprofit is just one word and you want to bid on that word so that you can put an ad out there in front of people bidding on your nonprofit, then that's problematic. You can't do it. Okay. So there are a few kind of strange rules like that, but nothing that really, makes it not worth doing by any means.
How would you advise somebody if their organization was called David, right? What would you advise them to do to, I guess, work around like that single word issue?
The only thing you can do would be you could bid on, for example, your URL. So if you had the URL david.com, which if you do, congratulations, that's probably worth more money. But you could bid on david.com because that would be considered a single key, a single word. Okay. You could also bid on, for example, David nonprofit, or you'd have to combine it with some other word, but it's not really that big a deal because if people are searching for your brand or your nonprofit, they're going to find you anyway. But sometimes it's valuable to defend that space or to use that space to present a specific message. So you kind of are limited in that regard. But really, most nonprofits that are going to use these funds are going to use it for other keywords that are not around their name, the name of their nonprofit.
So $10,000 US a month, like that's huge, right? What does that mean in terms of like how much traffic or traction somebody could get with that?
It can be a fair amount. And here's why. Most nonprofits, they're going to be targeting traffic and search phrases that are either not competitive at all or not very competitive, which means the cost to drive it on a per click basis can be quite low. You can be driving traffic below $1 a click or around $1 per click, which is, it's fairly cheap considering the overall landscape of paid ads. So, you can do the math on that, figure out how much traffic you can get, but it can be sizable. I mean, $10,000 per month is nothing to sneeze at, right? Like you could really drive some highly targeted campaigns that do exactly what you want. And we've done that for some nonprofits. It has been, quite successful doing it.
Yeah, I mean, if a lot of nonprofits that we work with are fluctuating in around 2, 3, 5,000 hits a month to their site, they could effectively double or triple the amount of traffic that they're getting if they're targeting the right keywords and the right demographics and that type of thing. So I think that's really great. So is it really like too good to be true? Is this just Google's way of trying to give back?
I mean, to an extent, I guess you could say it's not too good to be true in the sense that nonprofits can absolutely tap into this and benefit from it. Of course, you and I both know Google is all about that stock price and bottom line, right? So there's a cynical side. They're getting something out of this, no question. They're bringing people into the ecosystem, getting them, hooked, as you might say, on ads, and then maybe 10 grand doesn't become enough, and you want to spend more. Or, these $10,000 grants could drive up the cost of bids for other people that are actually paying for ads. So yeah, I mean, they're definitely coming out ahead on this overall, I'm positive. But no, it's not too good to be true for the nonprofits. It's a great program, a great way to tap into essentially free money.
Yeah, I imagine, their intent is like Alphabet is their like head corporation. They're all about the bottom dollar, like any, business is. I imagine they're treating this as kind of like the gateway drug. Hey, like come and, try this out. And if you get good traction, if you're using the right keywords, if you've engaged, let's say, an agency like yourself, exactly, right? And it's generating what you want to achieve from it, that you might go into your pocket above and beyond the $10,000, right?
Right. And we don't know, honestly, this could be a program that goes on forever, but it may eventually come to an end. And by then you might have thousands of nonprofits that have realized, hey, it's worth bidding on this traffic, So I suppose Google could flip that switch. I don't anticipate that or see any indication that they will. But yeah, I'm sure they're doing fine with this.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen some anecdotal evidence from some of our clients that are using the ad grants where their keywords aren't showing up as much as some businesses that are paying to play in the space and paying out of their pocket instead of using an ad grant. How do you feel, and is there any evidence that you've seen where paid ads versus the ad grants ads are like given equal weighting, or is one kind of seen as higher priority than the other?
Yeah, there's nothing official I could point to and say, yeah, Google has acknowledged, hey, we don't weight this traffic the same. But yeah, anecdotal, like you mentioned, kind of seeing some things that maybe make it look like we're not treated totally equally inside of the silent auction for the cost per click. But and that wouldn't surprise me. Google's trying to make a buck on everything, right? So in their business, that's what they should be doing. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of weighting against the Google ad grants. But having said that, like I mentioned, most of the traffic that nonprofits are going for isn't that competitive, right? So it's traffic that is either it's underbid in a sense, so they don't really have a problem. I've never seen them have a problem getting into the traffic they're looking to get into.
Should a nonprofit run ads themselves?
Sometimes, sure. I mean, if you have someone in-house with experience, absolutely, I would say go for it. There's no reason to go outside, because then that's real money. It's not, Google ad grants are not going to pay for you to hire someone to run the ads for you, right? But so if there's someone in-house with experience, I would say it's not a bad idea. I would say if you're not going to use the full budget, if for some reason you think we can't, this is the traffic we really want, and there's just not that much traffic, so we're only going to use 1,000 or 2,000 of it. My first response would be, there, I'm sure, is a way to use the full budget. But if you're not going to use the full budget, it probably wouldn't make sense to go hire someone in to only manage $1,000 or $2,000 of ad spend. But the thing you need to remember is that the Google Ads system, it's designed for the lowest level of experience. All right. And that's because they have thousands of small businesses or small nonprofits that want to be able to run ads without bringing someone in-house, which is fine, to make it accessible for them. But the downside is, when you don't know what you're doing, it leads to tremendous waste. Okay, you'll end up buying traffic that is just not relevant, just not helpful, or you'll be running ads that are not profitable, or in this case, they don't convert the correct way. So there are definitely reasons to bring someone in who knows what they're doing. You'll get a way more bang for your buck on the $10,000 ad grant than if you're trying to do it yourself without any experience. And that's just the truth, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So if you're trying to run ads and you don't know what you're doing, the odds are you're going to waste a huge chunk of that $10,000 ad grant.
For sure. Is there anything in the system that would help people that are running the ads themselves optimize the ads, or are they just relying on you to kind of, like, as the lay person, somebody in an organization, are they hoping that you would go in and take a look at the ads and monitor it and modify it over time, or is there a way that it optimizes to get you the right traffic for those keywords?
You mean if someone were running it themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are certainly, so Google has made a big push on trying to get people into automatic bidding strategies for the campaign setup, and also being pretty aggressive on their optimization suggestions. And in fact, they're really trying to convince people to check this box that says we will automatically accept whatever suggestions Google gives us. And so it automatically applies, right? From my experience, that is a horrible idea, all right? For one, you got to remember, Google's trying to make money. So their suggestion is usually, hey, spend more money. Hey, bid higher. Hey, add up all these keywords. We think they're good keywords, but you look at the keywords and I'm pretty sure these are not all good keywords. So we don't want them in there because it ends up being a lot of wasted traffic. Another thing they do is they really encourage businesses and brands and nonprofits alike to bid on broad match keywords. And there's a ton of wasted ad spend inside of broad match keywords. So long answer to your question, but yes, there are suggestions that they offer. There are campaigns that are, for example, smart campaigns that will kind of take all the guesswork out of it for you and allow their system, their algorithm to optimize. But just realistically, what I've seen is there's a ton of waste inside of that approach. So you have to be careful with it.
Do you have any tips or tricks for somebody in a nonprofit that, if they're running their ads themselves, that like a quick win that they might be able to take advantage of?
Yeah, absolutely. I could probably give you 4 or so that if you did these 4 things, you'd probably be ahead of 90% of the people out there trying to manage ads on their own, just because people don't realize how important these things are. So the first thing I'd say is, if you are going to bid on your branded traffic, always segment that away from your non-branded. So you'd want to have a campaign that is strictly branded. So if you want to bid on your nonprofit name, have that as its own campaign, totally separate from any non-branded. So for example, go back to the example of the nonprofit called David Nonprofit. We'll bid on David Nonprofit over here. And then let's say David Nonprofit is a food bank. Then the separate campaign, Food Bank, would be considered non-branded because it doesn't have your nonprofit's name in it. So always segment those and you would want to use a negative keyword to keep your brand search from showing up in the non-branded. Okay. Avoid broad match. And the way it works inside of Google Ads is you can say, hey, Google, here are a bunch of keywords. Go find me traffic. That's called broad match. There's also phrase match, which says, I want this specific phrase inside of the search. And as long as that phrase is in there, like food bank, then show the ad, right? There's also exact match, which would say only this specific search I want to show for. So broad match is the one where you end up with a lot of searches that are usually, there's a lot of waste in it, a lot of wasted spend. So focus on phrase and exact match, okay? And then if you can't fill up your budget using that, then you could think about going outside and getting some broad match. Another idea is you would always want to be testing at least a couple of ads at a time inside of each ad group. And the reason is pretty simple. You want to test your messaging and figure out what really is going to drive the result we want. So you want to have an ad that uses messaging A and an ad that uses messaging B, right? So we're going to figure out what messaging really drives the click, really drives the conversion, or whatever we're trying to achieve. Only way to do that is to have multiple ads running at the same time. And then every so often you go in and say, okay, this ad is my clear winner. I'm going to get rid of this loser ad and rotate in a new one to see if I can beat my winner, right? So that's kind of the basic idea of that. And then the last thing I would say is take the time to pick this is the most important. I probably should have led with this, right? But take the time to pick a clear objective. What are you trying to achieve? Do you want people to donate? Do you want people to fill out a form? Whatever you're trying to achieve, pick a clear objective and take the time to set up the conversion tracking so that Google Ads knows what's driving that event. And then you can tie it back to the keyword, you can tie it back to the ad, you can tie it back to demographic data. And that's when you can really start making some powerful optimizations that will make your campaigns work the way you want them to.
That was amazing. Those are some 4 outstanding tips. I hope anybody listening to this can use your insight. It obviously shows that you're an expert in ads, and how nonprofits specifically can take advantage of this and work with the platform to be able to help them, reach their mission and achieve their goals, which is really great. This has been really enlightening. I've learned some amazing, great tidbits that I could take back to my clients even. And I hope, as I mentioned, that the people listening will be able to get some of that research and your expertise and use it in their organizations. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, what do they need to do?
Easiest thing would just be go to my website, exactclickdigital.com, and you can book a call with me right there on the site. Sync it with your calendar, and then we could just do a quick intro call. It's usually not long, 15, 20 minutes, just to see what your needs are, see if there's a fit, and then from there we can decide if it makes sense to work together.
That's amazing. So it's exactclickdigital.com. Thanks again for joining in, Leo. It's been great having you on the Nonprofit Digital Success Podcast. And to everybody listening, if you want any of the links that Leo's mentioned or any resources like that, his contact info, just head over to our podcast page at wowdigital.com/podcast, and you'll see this interview in there, and looking forward to hearing from you. Take care and go and enjoy your Google Ad grants.
Thanks, David.